All right, football fanatics, we are live right here with the week two recap of week two that happened from September. Oh, sorry. Okay, good. Oh, okay, good. I forgot. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, good. Okay. All right, sorry. There's a lot of talking going on right now, so I had to get that all fixed up. I know there was a lot, so just ignore that, guys. Welcome to another weekly reaction video, recap video of my fantasy football. I hope you all enjoyed the week of football. I hope you all enjoyed and did really well in your fantasy games this weekend. I know a couple of my games went, not definitely not the way that I was hoping it would, but at the same time too, I did get some key moments that really helped me out. Just to recap real quick, one of my leagues that I'm in, I'm actually in one with my family, my cousins and my older brother and stuff like that. So I was down yesterday, so I was playing my cousin Claire, right? So I was playing her in week two, and get this, I was down yesterday heading into Monday Night Football. I was down by 130.12 points uh, to 83.48. So I was trailing big time. Big time. So, and I had three players left in my league. I had Stephon Diggs that was supposed to play for me on Monday night, Derrick Henry, also I had Dawson Knox. So Dawson Knox and Derrick Henry didn't really do anything for me, but Stephon Diggs was an absolute bomber. He really did such a great job. He really was able to catch all the big catches and the big touchdowns that I really needed to surpass to the win. So the final score I ended up winning in week two in my fantasy game matchup was 149 to point 38 to 135.82. My cousin had Gabriel Davis, who was out actually with an ankle injury as of yesterday, which was actually kind of interesting how it wasn't really mentioned about much until like Saturday. And so until Saturday was when it was mentioned with that injury. So honestly, I was a little surprised about his injury. I wasn't really quite too aware of it. So she wasn't able to get anybody in time before when they claimed him as out. So we had two flex spots that we do in my league. So we have like an extra flex spot for anybody to throw in somebody. So she had Isaiah McKenzie, but he just didn't really do anything. It was all the Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs game. So overall, it was a good game. I was really uh, pretty shocked with the way that that game went out, and we will talk more about that when we get the chance to. But it was a good weekend of football. There was a lot of exciting games, a lot to talk about in this week that I'm super pumped to really talk about with you guys as far as games, statistics, and just about anything. Like I'm so pumped to talk about. A lot that really went on this week, a lot of like eye opener games and potentially games that really stood out and maybe could be like the potential to really go deep in the playoffs and in the postseason. So those are just some things to really think about. So I see we have three people that are live. That's good. Make sure you guys are commenting on that live chat so that way I'm able to see everything as far as what you guys are doing and how you guys are thinking of the video so far. So with that all being said, it's 8:04 now. We started right on time at 8 o'clock, which was good. No issues whatsoever. So I was able to start the stream, and now we're ready to go. So before we move any further, make sure you put a like on this video. Make sure you put a like. Make sure you drop a comment down below too. You can do it in the live chat, or you can do it after the live stream too to post anything that you are interested in learning more about. And just helping me out. I want to be able to hear from you guys. What do you guys want to hear? What kind of videos do you want me to make in the future and stuff like that? The more involvement that I get from you guys and the more feedback I get from you guys, the better my videos are going to end up being. So just drop a like down below on this. And also don't forget to, it's been a while since I've had any subscribers, so please, I want to make sure that I'm getting all the subscribers that I can. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and also ring that notification bell too, so that way you guys can also keep in touch as far as when I'm going live or when I have a new video posted on this channel. All right. So with all that being said, we're gonna get started. We're going to do the same thing as we did last week. So I'm going to do first. We'll talk about my top 10 teams for this week. Also talk about with you maybe my game of the week too. I might just briefly mention it here and there. And also, I didn't get the chance to make the graphic this week. I probably will for next week's reaction slash recap videos. But what I'm going to start doing too, and which I saw my man, what's his name? Bottom Line View, who also did it this year too, which is something he's never actually done before, which was to give his record straight up picks, just based off of how I'm doing so far in the regular season, how my picks going. Am I really being accurate with my picks? Am I being accurate as far as analyzing each matchup and how I really think it's going to go down? So that will be something to be included for next week. So that'll be something to keep in mind of. But for now, we're going to get started. We'll get started with the first game here. We'll talk about this one. This is, as you can see, the picture of Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. Yes, this was a real interesting, crazy, kind of low scoring game until the end. So a lot happened in that game that we are going to talk about in this week. So with that all being said, let me see if I can find full screen. Should I put it full screen or just slideshow? Yeah, we'll do slideshow. That's good. Alrighty, so here we go. Week 2 recap. Let's move on. All right, so we're going to do my top 10 teams first after week 2. So here we go. I'm going to start from the bottom up just like I did last week. Okay, number 10, some things did switch up a little bit. Not anything really too crazy, but I think the biggest thing is what we'll talk about in a bit. But number 10 was the Saints. I put them at number 10 this week, taking place over Pittsburgh. The Saints didn't really do a whole lot offensively this week against the Bucs. The Bucs defense absolutely killed it. They did such an absolute, beast of a job and keep containing Jameis Winston. Was able to turn him over at least 3 times. I know in terms of interceptions. So Saints had a good week of defensively. They could have they had multiple opportunities to be able to beat the Bucs and Tom Brady yet again. But unfortunately, in the case of the Saints, they didn't do that. So they reached number 10. Number 9, I probably could have put the Broncos at 9. But the reason why I didn't, because I thought their defense played excellent this week. I thought their defense was excellent. But a lot of questions and things we'll talk about when we get to it. Their offense, there's a lot of questions about that offense. And now with Jerry Jeudy potentially being out for next week's matchup is going to be very concerning to really think about. So that's something to really keep in mind of when you go to analyze the Broncos. So some good things I did like. I saw some flashes of good things I liked, especially in that defense, but definitely, a very concerning game, a very concerning team that I probably would be questioning more about this week. Number 8 is the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, actually, I think they pretty much shocked everybody in the league and even fans out there, too. I was not expecting them to put up 41 points, and I was not expecting Tua to really go off the way that he did. He had 6 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. So that's a team that's really fast, and they probably could be a force to be reckoned with. So Dolphins go at number 8. Number 7 was the Ravens. I could have probably flip-flopped either of the two. The Ravens did play excellent, really, as well on offense. So Lamar Jackson is back to being Lamar Jackson. He played a really good game in this matchup with the Dolphins this weekend. But unfortunately, that defense just sold on him. They just weren't able to cover Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill in that matter. So, but they did enough to be able to score enough points, but they just couldn't pull it out at the end. Green Bay actually makes number 6 this weekend. Probably really shouldn't have jumped that high. But Green Bay did have a good showing. They kind of looked like they were back into their offense. Aaron Jones had a beast of a game too. He was able to really run and be able to play in the backfield as well for Aaron Rodgers. Their defense looked pretty sharp too, despite it was only playing Chicago, which really wasn't that impressive. But they'll get their biggest test this week when they play the Bucs. Even without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, for them, they'll still be a tough game for them. So, but Green Bay goes at number 6. Number 5, I know the Vikings did not have a great matchup this week with the Eagles, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit, but I didn't really get to analyze or talk too much or watch that game too much. But I know it was a pretty bad loss for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins didn't really have the best game ever, but Their offense is still stellar, and you can't go wrong with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. You can't go wrong with them. Number 4 is the Chargers. They had a rough loss to the Chiefs this weekend. They played on Thursday night, which was a tough loss for them, but their defense actually contained Patrick Mahomes and actually played pretty well for the most part up until Herbert's injury, which kind of hurt their chances of possibly winning this game. So they're at number 4. Number 3 is the Chiefs. The Chiefs had a nice comeback win against the Chargers last Thursday. Even without Tyreek Hill and like his true number 1 receiver in Patrick Mahomes, even though he doesn't have his number 1 receiver anymore, he still played pretty well for the most part. He didn't really turn the ball over, didn't throw any picks or didn't fumble the ball. So he played a good game in this game, and their offensive line did a pretty good job of keeping that elite pass rush of the Chargers out of the game, which actually really eventually helped them get to their win. Number 2 is the Bucks. The Bucks offense is a little bit sluggish, and it's mostly because of the injuries on that offensive line. And now with Mike Evans being suspended for next week and probably one of the marquee matchups for next week, it's definitely going to hurt them a lot. But they're still at number 2 because of that excellent defense that they have in both the run and the pass rush. They're doing such a great job there. Then number 1, you can't argue with this pick here. The Buffalo Bills are going to be, and I don't see anybody really surpassing the Bills. The Bills are just too good of a team to really, really to be able to beat. I don't think there's going to be any teams that beat the Bills this year. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs are just they're the best quarterback wide receiver duo right now in this league. No question about it. So, and their defense is just as elite too. So they're playing really well. They had a big blowout win against the Titans last night, which was the game I was mostly watching, other than besides the Eagles Vikings game. Wasn't really into that one too much, but the Bills Titans game was a blowout, and the Bills are just crazy. They're just crazy good, and I don't think anybody wants to play them this year. And if they do, they really have to plan hard to slow down Josh Allen, which I don't think many defenses are going to be able to do. And I don't think many teams are going to be able to score off of their defense either. So, all right. So, before I get to my game of the week, which I'll talk about that now. The game of the week for me this week, surprisingly for me, probably wouldn't be the Ravens and the Dolphins. And some people might be very mad about that. And I get where they're coming from. I think it was basically a toss up between that game and the Bucks Saints game. And I think just because Tom Brady finally gets a win in the regular season against the Saints, who he struggled with since he's joined the Bucks, I'm giving that game possibly really the end of the best game of the week in week 2, because I just feel like both defenses are going to compete for the number 1 and number 2 spots of the best defenses in the NFL this year. Probably the Bills could be at number 1, but regardless, both defenses are in the top 3 at least this year in the league. Both defenses are playing excellent. Both teams really played well. And neither team really made a ton of mistakes. It was just mostly their defenses that were just able to cover, the receivers on each side of the ball very well. And it was just, I felt like that deserved to be the game of the week because I like those low scoring kind of like weird kind of games, and it was good for Brady to finally get a win in the regular season as a Buck to beat the Saints. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but yeah. Anyway, so we'll talk about Thursday night's game. I'm not going to cover this one too much, but Chargers lost this game more than the Chiefs won it. I would say, yeah, they did. Yes, it was nice to see the Chiefs actually come back from like a 10-point deficit and be able to beat the Chargers, but I think really mostly was because of the Chargers. They lost this game because they lost. I think they had, and I think what really hurt them the most was Herbert getting hurt when he threw that pick 6 to Watson here over from the Chiefs. So, a lot of mistakes, a lot of questionable play calling that kind of hurt them in the long run. I don't really think they really needed to go too aggressive on that pass right there, right before the pick 6 happened. I don't think so personally. I probably would have ran the ball more, used Austin Eckler a little bit more, because he is a fine running back in his own right. I don't think there's really any need to force that ball in there. So Herbert played a good game for the most part, I thought, from what I was able to watch from highlights. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the full game due to this game being aired on Amazon Prime, which I don't have Amazon Prime for. Unfortunately, I might get it later on this season, but I was able to hear it through YouTube. I was listening to it, and I got to watch the highlights from this game as well. So it was a good game. I thought the Chargers defense did a good job of containing Patrick Mahomes, but I think what really impressed me more was that offensive line for the Chiefs that was able to block better for Patrick Mahomes and was able to give Mahomes more time to find an open receiver downfield. I think I think really for the most part the Chiefs won this game basically because of Herbert's decision of throwing a pick six in the red zone, which is never really anything you want to happen uh, in that case, but also play calling too, which really hurt them. And really, if Justin Herbert did not get hurt in this game, which really shows a lot of guts that he came back to the game and played while he was injured. So that takes a lot of guts. He's not the very first player to ever do that. Don't get me wrong. He's not the first player to ever do that in a football game. There's been tons of players that have done that, and I've been playing high school sports with friends and colleagues and everything. It's definitely not something that's unheard of. But the way that I see it is that I was more impressed with the way that he did not want to give up for, his team to sit out the rest of the game. And he showed a lot more guts in terms of like this team is already banged up. Then they were already out with Keenan Allen. So Justin Herbert's top target for that night was Mike Williams, the next guy up, who was probably going to be competing for a number one receiver spot along with Keenan Allen for this year. It's going to pretty much go back and forth with those two. But regardless, though, Herbert really played well in this game up until the point he did get injured. And I think it just proved to me that Justin Herbert and that Brandon Staley, too, the coach, who I think is a pretty decent, I think he's a good coach. I think this Chargers team is still good. I think his play calling is good, but at times I just think it's just way too aggressive. In some cases, like this play call in particular was too aggressive at the time that they really didn't need to force that ball in there. I think they would have done just fine. They were doing a fine job with Eckler running the ball, and they think they should have really let him run the ball in the red zone, and they would have been able to score eventually. But mistakes happen. You kind of learn from the mistakes that you make and you call, and you learn from there in that case. So, I really do hope Justin Herbert does come back next week and he does play well against Jacksonville. I really do. Not that it's really too much of a concern if he doesn't play in the Jacksonville game. It wouldn't be too much of a concern. But at the same time, too, Jacksonville is sneaky, playing decent. They're playing pretty well lately. So just based off of their recent win that they had, which we'll talk about later against the Colts, this Jacksonville team is a team that you don't want to mess around with. So I don't know. I don't think they would be necessarily hurt if Herbert didn't play in that game, but at the same time, I think he gives them the better shot of winning too. Just gonna put that out there. I think the Jags have been playing well lately, despite their first loss of the year, and even with their recent win with the Colts at home, which we'll talk about. It's a team that I probably wouldn't really relax too much on. So that's why I'm hoping Herbert does play in that game because I think he gives them the better shot of winning. Now, I'm not saying that Chase Daniel couldn't get them a win, which I don't really think he could really get them the win, but I think you are better off with trying to get Herbert healthy. And now with that extra time with having already played last Thursday, and then this game is on Sunday, I think it builds up to his potential. So I think Herbert will be fine. I don't think it's really an injury to really be too concerned about. And fantasy owners like myself who have Justin Herbert, I wouldn't really be too concerned about his injury. They say it's not really anything serious as long as he's resting up. It's a day-by-day process, so I wouldn't really worry too much about his injury, but I would definitely keep a close eye on it because things could happen. He could sit for next week just to rest and see what happens, but definitely